his credit score started with a number I could count on one hand, not using a couple fingers. Yeah.
Girl, I'm almost to it that way.
I'm gonna use this as my going out car, so when I'm too up, I can just put it in self-driving mode.
Alright, I've got a few clips today. Most of them to do with cars as usual, but a few other ones in there too. The order might not make sense, but neither do these people's decisions. If you could, please hit that like button and drop a comment. It's that fun time of year on YouTube where all the numbers plummet. Kind of like these people's credit scores.
One of my buddies got screwed over so bad purchasing a car, I told him the only way he's getting out of it is by totaling it. I shit you not, I told him to find the nearest tree in the middle of the night and run into it. Let me tell y'all this story. This dude called me and my buddy that had some common sense. He knew we talked about money. We're both very good with money. And he says, man, my high school car, it's a Charger, blew up on me. I'd like to get a new car. He said, what do y'all think, man? What are some cars y'all like? And I said, hey, dude, I got a Corolla. I said, it's a fucking animal. I love my Corolla.
Insurance fraud. Probably not the best idea. I worked with a guy years ago that did this. Not the brightest guy. And it was all over a repair he didn't want to pay. It wasn't even that he couldn't afford it. He just didn't want to pay it. So the car met a telephone pole and he had no problem telling everyone about it. If I'm remembering it correctly, it was all over $8,000 or $9,000.
It's cheap. It's like $300 a month for a brand new one right off the lot. I was like, it gets like 54 miles a gallon. He goes, yeah, but man, I want something cooler. I said, man, they got like some sport options. Maybe you can go like Camry or something. I was like, even Toyota's got like that little GTR car or whatever it is. I forget the name of it. It's like a nice little sports car. It's like 30 grand, 36 grand. He tells me, he goes, yeah, but I've been looking at some other Chargers and stuff. He's like, I go into the dealership every week and each car I like to make sure the payments are good. So I have them run my credit. I said,
what could possibly go wrong there? Just keep running your credit. A few times a year isn't going to make a big difference, but regularly doing it, it's going to add up fast. And you know that someone that keeps running it isn't checking it. They probably have no idea what their score is or even how it's calculated.
Do what? My other buddy is just silent. I can hear the pain on the other side of the phone because I was feeling the pain. I said, please tell me you're lying, dude. He said, nah, man. I said, hey, I want you to get on Credit Karma. He said, what is that? I said, oh my God. It's as bad as I think. I walked him through how to set up Credit Karma. I shit you not, his credit score started with a number I could count on one hand, not using a couple fingers. Yeah. Like, oh my God. I said, hey dude, listen. I really need to talk to you man to man. I said, you need to get a used car. You need a used Corolla.
So he's got a score in the 300s. That's about as bad as it gets. If he can get approved, it's going to be the absolute worst terms possible. When I had bad credit years ago, the thought was never about the terms. It was about the approval. The length of the loan didn't matter. The interest rate didn't matter. Just find someone to say yes and worry about it later. For myself, it didn't work out very well.
Used Ford Focus, Ultima, something. He said, man, I just really can't do that, man. Like, I really like my Charger. He was like, everybody knows me because I drive a Charger. I said, I don't give a what your small town reputation is. You need to get a used car. Your credit score is screwed up and you're not making enough money. He didn't like that answer. He didn't talk to me for another week. My common sense buddy called me the week after. He said, Cody, you got to be sitting down for this shit. I'm interested. I'm like, what is it, dude? He goes, that guy, he bought a car. I said, okay, what is it? Well, he said, it's used.
The good news is it's used. That's just leading up to the bad part. You need to live up to that reputation. It's important in a small town. You can't be seen driving around in a Toyota. You definitely don't want people thinking you're responsible. Spend the money, ruin your credit, because the important part is being seen in a nice car.
And I said, well, that's good. That's what we told him to do. I said, so what kind of car are we talking about? And then there was silence. I could hear him start laughing and he goes, it's a Hellcat. Oh my God, dude. I couldn't believe what I heard. I said, well, how used is this Hellcat? He said, Cody, it's got 227,000 miles on it. My entire room starts spinning. I'm just like, oh my God.
Of course it's a Hellcat. With his credit score, he either had to have a cosigner or got a terrible interest rate. Maybe both. But at least he's got a fast car. No excuses to be late to work. Which is good because he's going to be spending all his time there trying to pay this thing off.
I can already see him getting buried in this car because he's not going to be able to afford anything else. The worst part is, here's the fatality of it. He said, it's 23% interest. Do you hear me? 23% interest. I called the non-common sense friend and I said, hey dude, listen, this is what I'm going to tell you. I said, I love you and I don't want you to fuck up your life this bad. I said, go find a tree in the dark on some random highway. Don't put anybody else in danger and you have to wreck that bitch. He hung up on me.
I have to say it again, insurance fraud, not a good idea. But I can see why he suggested it with that interest rate. You have to wonder, who would even consider approving someone with a score that low? There is no way he looked at the cost of borrowing. If he did, that number alone would make anyone walk away. Now he's stuck with a high-mile Hellcat at 23% interest, but at least he still got his reputation.
Hey friend, now y'all know I love me some cash I borrow. At the moment, I can borrow $700. The only downside about that, if you do not borrow the money within a certain amount of time, they will decrease it. Y'all, at one point, I had $800 and I was so excited because I was like, girl, I'm almost to $1,000. And baby, I paid them off. I wasn't using them. They dropped me down to $700. Now, if y'all know me, I use my cash out card faithfully every single month. I'm always paying back my Affirm app, my Klarna app. It don't work with Zelle. I don't think it works with Zelle.
My favorite TikToker, and she's almost at $1,000. I always get comments that nobody can understand her, so I'm going to translate. Basically, if you don't use your Cash App to borrow, they drop the limit. Kind of the opposite of a credit card. When you're responsible with the credit card, they increase the limit. With this, the more irresponsible you are, the more you get. You have to pay to borrow and keep borrowing to keep the limit. A very well thought out way to keep you in debt.
It don't work with Afterpay. And I may pay a few bills here and there. So I'm so excited that I got this $700 to borrow. And I'm trying my best not to touch it. But at the same time, I don't want them to decrease the amount of money I can borrow. Because if y'all know like I know, I'm trying my best to get to $1,000. So I'm always putting y'all in my business. I want to be in y'all business. How much can you borrow from Cash App Borrow? And what's the most amount of money you ever borrow from Cash App Borrow? Okay, good night, friend. I'll call you back tomorrow.
I have a feeling based on her spending habits I've seen in previous videos, she's going to hit that $1,000 goal. I believe she can do it. If she focuses hard and completely gives up on her finances, she may even be able to hit 2. What more do you need? It's great to have goals.
One of my worst financial purchases was this Tesla Model X. I bought it like 3 years ago. This is actually this exact car because I sold it to a friend here in LA. And I bought it because I was like, you know what? I'm going to use this as my going out car. So when I'm too up, I can just put it in self-driving mode. And I ended up doing that like twice and realizing this is fucking stupid.
Safety first. Every time I see a Tesla now, I'm going to think the person's hammered. You have to wonder how many people are actually doing this. You know there's a lot. There's actually people out there that don't realize it's illegal. A few weeks ago, I was watching a body cam video of a woman telling the police it's fine she's been drinking because she's got full self-driving. It didn't work out well for her. This guy spent all that money on a car when he could have just called an Uber. At least he did end up realizing it was a bad idea.
And ended up getting rid of it in 30 days. I got rid of it in a month, sold it to a friend, and I lost $46,000 in 1 month on this car, depreciating at. Also because Elon lowered the price of the new ones, so it was just so hard for me to even get out of this car, okay? The Teslas.
$46,000 gone. For 2 drunk rides home, $23,000 a trip. It doesn't get much more expensive than that. Full self-driving would be great for so many reasons. You had a long day at work, you're tired. If traffic is crazy, you don't want to deal with the insane drivers out there. There's a lot of reasons. But if you're buying a car just to get home when you're messed up, it might be time to rethink things.
I'm standing outside a hospital parking lot right now. My car just died. I just got off a 12-hour shift. I didn't got a tow truck yet. I know this car is on its last leg, and it doesn't make sense to spend the money to tow it and fix it. I figured I'd call you first because I've been putting this off for forever.
What happened to it?
I'm not sure. It's completely dead. It won't even click over.
Okay, what's your credit situation like?
It doesn't make sense to put money into it, but she has no idea what's wrong with it. Imagine your mechanic told you that. It might make a bit more sense to spend a couple $100s on a tow truck, get it to a mechanic, and see what's actually wrong with it. It could be something cheap, maybe you can get another year out of it, who knows. But at least check before spending tens of thousands of dollars to replace it.
Not great. It's around $590. I've got some old medical collections, but I've been paying everything off on time for the past 2 years.
2 years of on-time payments since the collections?
Yeah, I couldn't get ahead of it before that.
$590 with 2 years of clean history is workable. How much are you thinking about putting down?
I've got $3,000 down. I've been saving. I was going to use it for something else, but I need a car more.
If the salesman says your credit score is workable, that means it's going to be expensive. A double-digit interest rate. You get to pay a lot more than the vehicle is worth, and for some reason you'll thank them for it. She's going to drain her savings, take a high-interest loan, when it could be something as simple as a dead battery. I'd spend the money to at least see what the issue is, but I think a lot of people don't want to know. They want the new car.
I have $200,000 in bad debt. When is it okay to give up on my credit?
How old are you?
23.
How did you get into 200 grand in debt by 23? What happened?
When I was 18, I got my first credit card. I had a business at the time where I would just kind of use the credit and pay it off. But after a while, it just kind of added up, and somehow I got to $25,000 in credit card debt. And then later on, I ended up buying myself a truck to do hot shots, because that was like the only way at the time to kind of, do anything for myself, because I couldn't get a job.
I couldn't even imagine having that much debt, especially at that age. The most I had was probably 30 or 40,000. I can't remember the exact number, but I remember not wanting to add it all up. The worst part was working all day making the payments and seeing absolutely no progress at all.
Why couldn't you get a job?
I have a criminal past.
What type of business did you try to start?
I was trying to do vending machines because they say passive income is, the best thing, but that was not even close to passive income.
What are you doing today for work?
I'm a truck driver. Weekly, I do 2,500. Monthly, I would say around 8,000 to 10,000.
And if you broke down the debts, how much of this is credit card debt versus the truck loans? Break that down.
$25,000 is credit card debt. $70,000 is my truck debt.
$70,000 for a truck. It's almost always vehicles that are the major part of people's debt. He's got a great income, but he's throwing it all away. Without that truck, he could wipe out that credit card debt easily. Once you're in debt, it's so easy to keep adding more. There's a point where you just stop caring. At least that's how it was for me. You can't see a way out, so you keep adding more. And with all the payments, there's no way to save and pay for things cash.
And then 35,000 is my fiance's car. 60,000 is around my house debt.
So we're not going to count the mortgage right now. And so let's move the mortgage out of this. That brings your debt down to 140 in consumer debt. We get rid of the cars. That gets rid of 105. This is a solvable problem now. We just went from I can't make my payments to, oh my gosh, I'm almost debt free by the end of the year. You'll see the private party value on Kelley Blue Book. Check Carvana and CarMax and all the others to see what they would offer you for these vehicles. Then at least you know the amount you need to cover that you're underwater on.
He has almost $100,000 in vehicle debt alone. He owes more on his truck than his home. I think it's great that he called in, and there is a simple solution. Get rid of the vehicles and tackle the debt. I wonder why this isn't the first thing that comes to people's minds. So many of these callers can't seem to figure it out. It's the amount they spend on transportation that's ruining their finances. Or maybe it's just that they don't want to hear it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. That's it for this one. I'm off to finish packing. It's my last full day here, and I'm going to be in my new place tomorrow. I'll finally be able to get a little bit of sleep and focus more on improving these videos. Like and subscribe, all that good stuff. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.